why the Stoics say everything is out of your control, and why that sets you free. Let's begin with a truth that may feel uncomfortable at first. You're not in control, not of the weather, not of your reputation, not of your body, not even of your next breath. At first that sounds unsettling, maybe even frightening, but the Stoics saw it differently. To them, this truth wasn't something to fear. It was freedom. Because once you stop trying to control what was never yours to command, you can finally focus on what is, your response, your values, your character. The Stoics weren't ivory tower thinkers. They were generals, slaves, emperors, people tested by war, betrayal, and loss. And yet, they found peace, not because life was easy, but because they learned where to place their energy. They understood this world is unpredictable, often unfair, always changing. So they asked a better question. What can I control right now? Imagine this. You wake up one morning to a wave of bad news. You've been misunderstood, criticized. Maybe a major deal falls through, or someone you trust turns their back on you. What's your first reaction? Fear, anger, the need to fix, to explain, to fight. That's the old way. Now imagine you pause, you take a breath, and you remind yourself, this was never mine to control. Not other people's choices, not their words, not the outcome. Only this, how I meet this moment. That's the essence of Stoicism. Not detachment, not indifference, but clarity. You're not numb. You're just done giving your peace away to things that were never yours to carry. When you accept that the external world is beyond your control, you stop wasting energy trying to bend it. Instead, you direct your attention inward, toward the one thing you can shape, yourself. And in that space, you find something rare in today's world. Not control, but composure. Not certainty, but serenity. This is the mindset the Stoics lived by. And maybe, just maybe, it's the one we need now more than ever. It's not about being passive. It's about being precise. And it's the first step to ending unnecessary suffering. Marcus Aurelius, emperor, philosopher, father, faced war, disease, betrayal, and unimaginable personal loss. He had power, but he also endured pain. And through it all, he kept returning to one essential truth. There is a line between what is mine and what is not. My judgments, my actions, my principles, that's where my energy belongs. Everything else, success, reputation, even love, is a gift from the universe. Temporary, unpromised, not mine to keep. And when you grasp for what was never yours to hold, you invite constant worry. It's a radical shift from what most of us are taught. We grow up hearing that we must control everything, our outcomes, our image, our future. And maybe that works, until life doesn't. The body breaks. The plan falls apart. Someone you love walks away. If your peace is built on control, then every disruption becomes a threat. But what if peace never came from control at all? What if real peace begins the moment you stop clinging, not in defeat, but in wisdom? That's what the Stoics discovered. Not apathy, not detachment, but clarity. Here's a question worth sitting with. What would your life feel like if you stopped trying to control what was never yours? How much energy do you spend managing how others perceive you? How much anxiety grows from replaying the past or forecasting the future? The Stoic answer is simple, but not easy. Let it go. Redirect that energy to what you can shape. Your effort, your choices, your values. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. You still care. You still act. But your well-being no longer rises and falls with outcomes. Like an archer, you draw the bow, steady your breath, and release the arrow. Once it's gone, wind, fate, and chance take over. That part is not yours. If you miss, you don't curse the sky. You refine your form. You aim again. That's resilience. That's emotional strength. It's not about withdrawing from life. It's about engaging with it on the deepest terms. When you stop trying to control the storm, you can start learning to steer through it. You build something stable, not by resisting change, but by anchoring yourself to what doesn't change: your integrity, your response, your purpose. The world is chaotic. People are unpredictable. Life is short. But your ability to respond with clarity, to love without attachment, to act with calm courage, that's where your freedom lives, and that's where the worry ends. The Stoics didn't just speak this truth. They lived it, and so can you. They were emperors, exiles, slaves, generals, and teachers. Some had everything, some lost everything. But across time, experience, and circumstance, they shared a truth. Peace doesn't come from control. It comes from clarity. So the next time something falls apart, and it will, pause and ask, was this ever mine to control? If the answer is no, let it go. Don't resist it. Don't carry it. Don't let it own you. Return instead to what is truly yours: your reason, your values, your next step. That's the path. That's the power. That's why the Stoics said, everything is out of control. Because when you stop chasing control, you begin to live with intention. You begin to live from the inside out. The freedom paradox. Why letting go of control makes you more powerful. It sounds backwards, doesn't it? We're taught that power comes from having a grip on everything: outcomes, people, perception. But the Stoics understood something deeper. Power isn't dominance. Power is alignment, knowing where your influence begins and where it ends. Most people never reach this, not because they aren't capable, but because they're too busy trying to rearrange the world instead of rearranging themselves. Think of it like this. You can spend your life trying to control the wind, or you can learn to sail. That's Stoicism. It doesn't promise calm seas. It doesn't guarantee you'll land exactly where you aimed. But it promises this: you'll stay afloat. You'll move with grace. And no matter what happens, you'll carry your dignity with you. That's the paradox. When you stop fighting the uncontrollable, it no longer controls you. You become nimble. You become grounded. You become free. And in that freedom, you discover a power that can't be shaken. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." That's not just beautiful, it's deeply practical. Because when life puts a wall in front of you, the Stoic doesn't waste energy cursing the wall. They ask, what's my move? Not how do I erase this, but how do I respond given that I can't? That's the shift. From resistance to response. That's where transformation happens. See, most people confuse letting go with giving up. But it's not defeat. It's precision. It's choosing where your energy actually counts. You stop trying to command the universe, and you begin to command yourself. You stop managing everyone's opinion, and you start managing your own integrity. And something quiet but powerful starts to happen. You begin to trust yourself. Not because things always go your way, but because you know who you are, no matter how they go. That's real strength. The person who no longer needs control is no longer controlled by anything. So here's the deeper question. Where are you holding on too tightly? A relationship? A title? An identity? A version of the past you keep rewriting? The Stoics would ask, is that grip helping you live better? Or is it choking your freedom? Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. You stop tying your peace to things that are fragile, fleeting, outside your reach. You still love. You still strive. You still show up. But you don't build your identity on sand, because control is an illusion. But clarity, that's yours to keep. That's why the Stoic mindset is so liberating. Not because it strips life of meaning, but because it reveals what truly matters. When you realize how little you actually control, it doesn't make you passive. It makes you precise. You stop pouring energy into illusions. You stop fighting unwinnable battles. You direct your will toward what's real, what's yours. And that clarity, it makes you powerful. Not in the noisy, aggressive way, but in the quiet, grounded way that cannot be shaken. Because you become untouchable, not numb, not indifferent, but resilient. The world still moves. People still change. Loss still happens. But your peace no longer depends on any of it. It's rooted in something deeper, your own reasoned choice. Here's something worth reflecting on. What if most of your stress comes from trying to control what was never yours to hold? The deadline you can't move, the person you can't change, the past you can't fix, the future you can't predict. Now imagine releasing it, not because you're giving up, but because you're choosing strength over strain. Because you've chosen to focus on the only thing you ever truly owned, your mind, your attitude, your actions. That's the Stoic advantage. Let the world move as it will. You remain steady. And here's where the paradox reveals itself. When you let go of the need to control everything, people trust you more. You're not reactive. You're not manipulative. You're present. And when you stop forcing outcomes, you often get better ones. Because your effort is clean. Your intent is steady. Your energy isn't strangled by fear. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. The Stoics weren't cold. They weren't robotic. They were deeply alive. Because they had nothing left to fear. They had already let go. How to practice radical acceptance without giving up on your goals. There's a common misunderstanding when people first encounter Stoicism or the idea of radical acceptance. They hear accept what you can't control and assume it means stop trying, stop striving, stop caring. But that couldn't be further from the truth. The Stoics were not passive. They were emperors, generals, poets, lawmakers. They believed in action. They believed in excellence. They pursued their purpose with everything they had. But they didn't suffer over outcomes they couldn't command. That's the art, to accept everything, but give up on nothing. Radical acceptance doesn't mean you stop setting goals. It means you stop making your peace conditional on reaching them. You still train, you still build, you still love, you still serve. But you do it from a place of internal steadiness. Because you know the goal is a direction, not a demand. A compass, not a contract. You pursue it because it's meaningful, not because it guarantees you anything. And when life surprises you, and it will, you don't collapse. You adapt. You respond. Because your peace was never tied to control. It was built on effort, on alignment, on integrity. This is where modern minds often get trapped. We're conditioned to measure ourselves by results, by applause, by numbers. So when we fall short, it doesn't just sting, it shatters us. But the Stoics would ask, did you act justly? Did you try wisely? Did you stay true to your principles? If the answer is yes, then you've already won. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, if you do the work with your hands, with justice, self-control, and good sense, what more do you need? It's easy to agree with that when things are going well. But what about when they fall apart? When your heart breaks? When your dreams fail? When your name is dragged through the mud? That's when Stoicism stops being a theory and becomes a test. That's when radical acceptance becomes real. Can you still stand tall when everything around you begins to fall apart? Can you look the moment in the eye and say, yes, this hurts, but this is not the end. This is outside my control, but how I meet it, that's mine. That's the Stoic warrior spirit, not the denial of pain, but the quiet strength to remain steady within it. Take a moment to reflect. Are you chasing your goals with desperation or with discipline? Desperation clings. It says, I need this. Without it, I'm nothing. But discipline offers everything and still remains whole, even if the outcome never arrives. That's the hidden strength of acceptance. It doesn't make you passive. It frees you. It allows you to act without fear, to risk, to create, to love deeply, because your peace is no longer held hostage by results. You become more dangerous, not less, because you're not afraid to lose. You've already made peace with the possibility of loss. And that paradoxically makes you win more often, because your energy is clean, your intentions are rooted, your path is aligned. Radical acceptance is not giving up. It's seeing clearly. It's understanding that life doesn't owe you success, but you owe yourself your best effort. You don't control outcomes. You control your character. And once you accept that, you become deeply unshaken. You stop needing the world to cooperate. You stop waiting for things to feel fair. You simply bend your will toward what matters and let the rest unfold. So how do we live this out day by day? We begin by noticing our resistance to reality. That subtle whisper of, this shouldn't be happening. That phrase is a signal. It means we're fighting truth. And when we fight truth, we suffer. So instead ask, what is happening? And how can I meet this moment with wisdom? That's acceptance in motion. Not retreat, not weakness, but presence. And it makes you unstoppable, because your energy is no longer wasted on what you cannot change. It's focused on what you can create. This is the path of the unshakable self, becoming the calm inside the chaos. Imagine standing in the eye of a hurricane. Around you, noise, panic, collapse. But inside you, stillness. Not because you're numb, not because you don't care, but because you've built something deeper than circumstance can touch. That's the essence of Stoicism. Not control over the world, but mastery over your own mind. And in a world addicted to reaction, distraction, and noise, your stillness becomes a kind of superpower. Because the truth is, most people don't know who they are without the drama. They've never met themselves in silence. Their sense of identity is built on external things: status, validation, relationships, achievement. So when those shake, and they always do, they shake too. They spiral. They fall. But the Stoic doesn't build on sand. They build on rock. And that rock is reason. It's virtue. It's choice. And no one, not the world, not failure, not chaos, can take that from you. It's not bad luck, not betrayal, not even death. Because none of those things were ever truly outside you. To find calm within chaos, you have to train for it. Just as the body strengthens under resistance, the mind strengthens through adversity. Every setback, every insult, every failure. It all becomes material for growth if you let it. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's more than a quote. It's a posture, a way of being in the world. When you stop outsourcing your peace, when you bring it home to your own awareness, you become untouchable. But it doesn't happen by chance. It happens through daily practice, by catching yourself in the moment, when someone speaks with cruelty, when fear begins to rise, when plans dissolve, and choosing not to be pulled in. Not by suppressing what you feel, but by observing it, creating space between what happens and how you respond. That space, that's your freedom. That's the citadel. And the more you return to it, the more you realize, I can be okay, even when things are not okay. Ask yourself honestly, who am I when everything I've leaned on is stripped away? What remains when all the noise is gone? That's your real self, not the curated version, not the one shaped by praise or fear, but the one who can sit quietly and say, I am enough. That's the Stoic self, grounded, clear, unmoved by flattery or criticism. You don't need the world to calm down. You need to rise above it. And when you do, you stop being just another voice in the chaos. You become a source of peace within it. That's why the Stoics say, everything is out of control, not to make you afraid, but to free you from the illusion that it was ever yours to hold. Because once you accept that, worry begins to fade. You stop gripping. You start living, fully, fearlessly, freely. Not because the world is safe, but because you are strong. This isn't philosophy as theory. It's not something to memorize. It's something to embody. This is philosophy as armor, as awareness, as life. Now go live it.